Welcome back to the final part of the Jurassic Park Part 2 tutorial. Today we'll be looking at the final two missions, which is the T-Rex Showdown and the helicopter escape. So right off the bat, finishing the bombs mission, you don't have to actually mash through the main menu, because the level will just automatically start. And when it starts, you would just want to run to the right and trigger the fight itself. So the main idea behind this fight is for the beginner strat. We are going to be keeping our distance, similar to the Triceratops fight on the bombs mission. We're going to keep our distance and take pot shots with our power weapons. So we will be using all of our shotgun, all of our gas grenade, and all of our super bazooka. We're going to be using all of it. And then with the beginner strat, we will be reaching the end of the level right here. And once we reach these ammo caches, you're going to want to pick up your super bazooka ammo. You're going to want to pick up those ammo caches with your super bazooka, because the super bazooka deals a lot of damage, much more than any of your other weapons. So, let me just get the save state real quick. So the T-Rex does stop in specified spots. It's not important to know what those are really with the beginner strat. Again, it's just important to kind of keep your distance and take pot shots at him. So let's go ahead and get into the actual fight. So I like to start off with my super bazooka for the beginner strat. Oh, and by the way, the fight will actually start right before you reach this tree. So now, when it comes to actually shooting the T-Rex, you don't want to do full jumps, and you also don't want to be shooting on the ground, because if you shoot on the ground, you'll notice sometimes your bullets will just pass through his legs, and you're not actually hitting him. Same with jumping, doing a full jump. Sometimes he'll hit, but sometimes it'll just go straight over his head, like once he finishes his roaring animation. And again, you want to be hitting all of your shots. You really don't want to miss any of your shots, especially with the faster strats. With the beginner strat, you can afford to miss a few shots, but you really don't want to. So when you're actually attacking him, you want to be doing kind of half jumps, like this. Again, just keeping your distance. When he stops and does his roaring animation, that's when you'll just turn around and start shooting him. Again, you really just want to make sure you hit all of your shots. We've reached the end, so now we'll pick up our two ammo caches. One thing to note, once you're at the end right here, he actually won't back up unless you're dealing damage to him. As you can see, he's just not doing anything. But after you've dealt some damage to him, then he will back up. There you go. So that's something to be aware of. You can look up diagonally like this and do this. Now you'll want to make sure if you look up like this, you don't want to be too close, or else he will take a bite at you. Well, he didn't do it that time, but he will bite you if you're too close. So once you reach the very end, you want to be at the very end. You want to be as close to the cliff as possible. Okay, so I'm going to do the fight normally. So start with the super bazooka. Do these half jumps. Make sure you hit all of your shots. Just keep your distance. Make sure you don't shoot while you're standing on the ground, because then, again, your shots might just pass through his legs. Just be nice and methodical with your shots. You probably don't want to jump at the very end, because you'll get very close to his mouth. You can kind of get away with it, but it might be kind of risky. So at the very end, standing at the very end, it might be best just to look up diagonally like this. And he's dead. So I took that pretty safe and pretty slow. And you'll notice I had about 13 seconds left. So that's probably about what you're gonna end up with. And if you did miss a few shots, you can always finish them off with the machine gun, and hopefully you'll have enough time. But you might be cutting it close, depending on how many shots you've missed beforehand. So yeah, the beginner strat, just keep your distance, and only shoot while you're in the air, doing half jumps. Alright, so if you are playing on normal mode, congratulations, you have completed the game. And time has stopped on the black screen. But now we are going to do the other strats before we get into the helicopter fights. But one thing to note, if you are on hard mode and you're going into the helicopter fights, you will carry over your health. So whatever health you ended up with on the T-Rex fight, you will carry over to the helicopter fight. I don't know why that is, but if you had taken any damage and you have less health than full health, then again, you will carry that over. But more on that later, once we actually start talking about the helicopter fights. But for now, we will go back to the T-Rex fight and talk about some faster strats. Okay, so the faster strats, you're going to want to memorize when the T-Rex actually stops, because again, he does stop in specified spots. It's not random. And the lineups I use, I look at these bushes, these really small bushes that are on the ground. So I'm standing directly in front of one. I'm covering one right now. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, and 5. So these are the bushes that I look at when I do my lineups and my stops. And the reason we want to stop at these spots is because with these strats, we're going to be standing directly underneath the T-Rex. And again, using the mechanic where you can just shoot as much as you can when you're really close to an enemy, we're just going to be standing underneath the T-Rex like that and just putting as much damage into him as fast as possible. So just like this. This is the idea behind the strats we're going to be looking at right now. So again, looking at the plants on the ground. Oh, and by the way, using these strats, chances are we're going to be skipping these roaring cycles, depending on how efficient you are with your shots. So let's count these cycles and just get an idea of what we're looking at. So this is the first cycle. This will be the second cycle. Third cycle. Fourth cycle. Fifth. And sixth. And now we're at the end, and we're not really going to count these. So 6 cycles. Now with this slightly faster strat, but kind of safe-ish strat, we're going to skip the 6th cycle. We're going to end at the 6th cycle, rather. So again, using these bushes as lineups, we will start the fight. You want to start with the machine gun barrage, because we're not going to reach the end. Ideally, we're not going to reach the end. So start with a machine gun barrage on the first cycle. And then your first stop is going to be on, again, looking at the bushes, it is going to be the very middle one, so the third one. So I'm standing directly in front of the third one, if you count 3 from the tree. So this is going to be the first stop after the T-Rex charges. And then I'm just going to continue on. The next stop will be the first bush past the tree. And you might want to write this down, by the way, just so you can so it'll be easier to memorize. So the first stop is the third bush. Second stop is the first one past the tree. The third stop is going to be here. I'm standing here right now. I am standing, if you look at that kind of big root on the tree that is just barely touching my knee, that is going to be the next stop, the third stop. And then the fourth stop is going to be the same one, same lineup. You can see that big root is touching my knee. That'll be the fourth stop. And then the fifth stop, and ideally the last stop, is going to be just after, or just before the big crest of that big bush in the immediate background. As you can see, I'm standing just before the large crest. And that'll be the last stop, ideally. Chances are you might not end up being super efficient with it when you're starting off, and you'll probably need to end up going to the very end and picking up the ammo caches. And assuming that happens, you can just finish the T-Rex off. Hopefully it won't take too much longer at this point. You'll have dealt enough damage to him, and you'll have plenty of time. So yeah, those are the lineups. Now, if you want to take these lineups safe, you can always go past just a little bit of where those lineups are, because those lineups that I just mentioned are going to be as close as you can get to the T-Rex. If you're any closer, then the T-Rex is going to kick you. So this is a dangerous strat, being exactly where I mentioned you can be. So if you want to be safe about it, you can just go a little bit past, just to give yourself a little bit more room. Now obviously that's going to be just a little bit slower, but it is much safer to do. So let's actually go into the fight and see what it looks like. So the first barrage, you're going to want to use your machine gun. Use your machine gun the entire time until he starts charging you. And this is just an ideal situation if you can finish him off during the 6th cycle, before you reach the end with the ammo caches. So first cycle, use your machine gun barrage. Then we're going to reach the 3rd plant. This will be the first stop. Switch out to a power weapon. Just shoot it as much as you can. And then just continue on. Stopping at those stops with your power weapons. And I wasn't efficient enough. This is just an example of what can happen, so I've reached the end. I even missed a shot, that's okay. So now I can just kind of default to the beginner strat at this point. And he's dead. So as you can see, that was much faster than the beginner strat. The beginner strat that I did in this demonstration ended with 13 seconds on the in-game timer. And now I have 31 seconds. So that can just show you how much faster memorizing these stops are. So again, let me just do it again. Start off with a machine gun barrage. And then just head to those stops. Right before the tree. Okay, and that one was much faster, much more efficient. And again, you can take these stops, again, I would recommend taking them a little bit safe, just so you're not directly next to the T-Rex. I didn't do the machine gun barrage, that's okay. So yeah, what you can do to get a few more shots off, actually, is you can force the T-Rex to do his biting animation, and that'll give you an extra second to kind of run away and then take 2 more shots, 2 or 3 more shots at the T-Rex. And I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm gonna stay under just a little bit longer than normal. Oh, he didn't do it that time. Stay under just a little bit longer than normal, so we'll take a bite at you. And that'll give you a few extra seconds, or not a few extra seconds, but just a little bit more time to put a few more shots into him. It is a little bit risky to do that, just because you're a little bit closer to him once he does that biting animation. So that's something to be aware of. So I'll do it again, machine gun barrage, stop at the 3rd plant, stop at the 1st plant, stop at that big root. He did a biting animation, so I can put in a few more shots to him. Go pick up the extra ammo, because might as well. And he's dead. So that's the intermediate strats that you can do. And now we'll look at the hard strats, which is we're going to be stopping at precisely those locations. We're going to be as close to the T-Rex as possible. And then ideally, we are not going to be reaching the end of the level. We will not be picking up any extra ammo. And ideally, we will be killing the T-Rex at the... Hang on, I messed up the timing. So ideally, we'll be killing the T-Rex at this cycle. This is the 5th cycle. So we'll be killing the T-Rex with about 50 seconds, 49 seconds on the clock. Now, doing this is actually pretty tough. You have to be very fast with your mashing. I realize that's probably not going to happen with most people. So chances are you will be finishing the T-Rex on the 6th cycle. So right here, at 47 seconds, 46 seconds. That's probably what most people can achieve realistically. But again, even if you do mess it up, you can always just finish it off with picking up the extra ammo at the end and doing the normal strats, the beginner strats. So anyways, we are going to be doing the machine gun barrage to start off with. And again, stop at exactly those spots so you can get as fast as you can. Now, one thing that is slightly different, because we're not picking up any extra ammo, we are going to need to be doing a second machine gun barrage. This is different because we need to put in a little bit of extra damage since we're not picking up the extra ammo. I do this extra machine gun barrage after the shotgun, after I deplete all of my shotgun ammo. So right here, I will just put in about another second of machine gun into him, just to ensure I deal enough damage. And then I'm gonna finish him off. And he took a bite at me, but I was able to kill him. Again, once you deplete all of your shotgun, all of your gas grenade, and all of your super bazooka, assuming you've done the 2 machine gun barrages during this advanced strat, then he will be killed. So I'll do it again. Oh, hang on. So machine gun barrage, 3rd plant, 1st plant, 2nd machine gun barrage, just about a second or so. Stop at that root. Stop at the root again, and he's dead with 48 seconds. And if he didn't take that bite animation, then I would have ended at 49 or 50 seconds. So that's the ideal method. This is really the hardest method you can do that's realistic to do in a full game setting. And again, I realize most people probably won't be able to do that just because I can mash really fast. So most people are probably gonna settle for the finishing them off with the next cycle. So, second machine gun barrage, that's very important to do the second machine gun barrage, or else he won't die. So if you're fast enough, you can kill him right here. But I messed it up. And he's dead. Alright, so I'll do it one more time. I'll do the optimal strat. So here we go. Machine gun barrage. Third plant. Second machine gun barrage, about 1 second or so. If he stops to take a bite at you, then just put in a couple more shots, and I missed. So I'm gonna have to reach the end and pick up some ammo. If you end up missing a shot like that, then you will need to reach the end of the level and pick up some ammo. So hopefully I can do another demonstration of a good demonstration. Machine gun barrage, third plant, second machine gun barrage, stopping at the roots, and finish him off because I know he's gonna. At that point, I can just full send it because I know I've done my 2 machine gun barrages and I'm on the final super weapon, final power weapon. So at that point, I know I'm going to kill him, so I can just mash as fast as I can, and I will kill him. So that's the realistic strats you can do. There is one more strat we can look at, which I would not recommend doing in full games. This is not something I do, but we are able, it is possible to do what's called run and gun strats. So as you're running away from him, you can look up and shoot diagonally like this, and put a few shots into him like that. It's very, very difficult to do, but you can do something like this along the way. So again, this just gets rid of your ammo faster, obviously, and doing so will kill him faster, but again, it's very, very difficult to do without either getting kicked, which is very likely to happen, or without him doing his biting animation. So I need to be far enough away to where he doesn't bite, but again, close enough to where, or far enough away, but to where he doesn't kick you. So it's a very difficult, fine balancing act to figure out that sweet spot. So as long as you do your 2 machine gun barrages somewhere, so here's the first one, and then here maybe do something like this, and this is already inefficient, but here's the second machine gun barrage, and I got kicked, but yeah. It would look something like this, and he would already be dead at this point, assuming I did it properly. I'll just try it one more time. If you want to see it in action, just look at, you can always just look at the IL record, because I did it in the IL record. So maybe something like this. Yeah, it still wasn't efficient, but that's kind of what it looks like. Again, that is a very difficult strat to do, and I would not recommend doing it unless you're doing IL attempts. And even still, unless you're going for a world record IL attempts. So yeah, that's a very tough strat to do. Alright, so let's continue on to the helicopter fights. And this is a good example because I have taken damage, and as I mentioned before, if you take damage at this during the T-Rex fight, and you're going into the helicopter fight, you will carry over your health. So as you can see, I had half health, and now I still have half health. It only carries over on your first life here. So if you die during the helicopter fights, then you will gain your health back. Hopefully I can get myself killed, and just to show that off. Just fast forwarding a little bit. Okay, so I died. just to demonstrate. Continue, yes. And as you can see, I now have full health. So that's the health carryover. I don't really understand the mechanics behind it, but that's just what happens. Okay. So on to the fight itself. So I'm just going to really kind of give you basic pointers on how this fight works and what you need to memorize. The cycles for the helicopter's flight pattern are going to be the same. So it's not random. So what you want to do is you want to memorize really the first 4 helicopter cycles. After the first 4 cycles, the first 4 flybys, whatever is still remaining, you can just easily kill. It's really not difficult at that point. But if you memorize the first 4, then you can put in a lot of damage to each of the components for the helicopter. So the first cycle, we are going to be just above the horizon. We are going to be shooting just above the horizon. You can see my bullets are in line with the horizon. But you want to be just above it, just a little bit. So I'll just get into it. I'll be just above the horizon, and I'm just going to mash as fast as possible. As you can see, I'm putting a lot of damage into the engine and the square bomb dropper. So that's the lineup for the first one. So now the second cycle, second flyby, we are going to be lining up with part of the sun in the background. So if you look at the sun, the sun has 2 kind of large spikes poking out on the left side. So I will be lining myself up with the top one, the higher one. As you can see, my bullet on screen is now in line with the higher spike. These lineups aren't super precise, by the way. There's quite a bit of variance you can play with. But yeah, the higher spike is what I line up with. And again, I'll just mash as fast as possible once the helicopter comes flying in. And if you're fast enough, you can... Ideally, you'll want to be able to kill the engine and the square bomb dropper. If you don't, it's not a big deal, as long as you can start killing some stuff at this point. But hopefully, again, with the first flyby and the second flyby, you'll at least be able to kill the engine, at the very least. But again, it's not super important, it's not super necessary, because it'll be very close to death at this point anyways. Now the third flyby is very easy. It's just, you want to go to the very bottom of the screen, and he will fly in from the right. Now, it is kind of important to know at the very end of the flyby, you want to start moving upwards just to avoid his missile launcher barrage. And I'll show that real quick. So again, just start mashing as fast as you can, and right before he reaches us, just start moving upwards to avoid those missiles. Now the fourth cycle is going to be the exact same as the second cycle. So we're going to line ourselves up with the higher spoke of the sun, just like this, and just start mashing away. Now, it's going to be at this point where, depending on who you are and how fast you can mash, your strat might change up a little bit. It's kind of hard to explain specific strats you can do on this fight, because I realize people are going to be at different stages with their helicopter kill. So I'm really just telling you the lineups that you can use for these fights, these cycles. But hopefully at this point, anyone will be able to have killed the engine that I'm directly in front of right now, and that square missile bomb launcher. At the 4th cycle, hopefully everyone will be able to do that. But again, if not, it's not super important. But given time, and you'll be able to mash faster. But it's at this point I will start shooting the Marines that are hanging out from the side of the helicopter. You can kill a few of them. And the 5th cycle is going to be just a quick flyby. It's kind of hard to do a lineup here, but again, depending on what is still alive, you might need to kind of figure out your own lineups. But this 5th cycle, I will be lined up with the very top of the sun, and that'll get me mostly in line with any Marines that are still alive, or the missile launchers, the square missile launcher, if it's still alive. So something like that. The 6th cycle is the exact same as the 2nd and the 4th. So it'll be like this, and hopefully most things will be dead at this point. It'll be at this point we are going to want to pay attention to the missile launchers on top of the helicopter. These are going to be the most difficult sections, the most difficult parts to kill. Just because the helicopter flies here. Actually, let me make a save. This will be easier to demonstrate here. So these are the most difficult parts to kill, just because I'm shooting upwards. You're going to be doing something like this, shooting upwards as it's flying by like this. Now, if you're too slow, you'll notice the helicopter flies at exactly the same speed as you do. So if you miss your cue, as you can see, I'm now missing entirely. So I won't be able to mash and kill it. I'll have to do my diagonal shots like this, and you really can't mash diagonally. So it is kind of important to make sure you get lined up with it, especially the missile launcher, not the big one that I'm shooting right now, but the missile launcher is above it, and that's a lot smaller to hit. So it's very important you're careful with your timing and you're flying by to the right. So those are pretty difficult to get. Now continuing on, the next cycle, I don't even know what cycle this is, the 7th cycle, I think. This is going to be a very easy cycle. So this is going to be where you'll want to pay attention to the turrets. So just letting you know, this turret is not a threat at all, whatsoever. It's only on these cycles where he's flying downwards from the right is when the turret will actually shoot at you. But if you notice, you can be anywhere, and as long as you're not moving, the turret will not hit you. So I'll just be in any random location, and for whatever reason, the turret just does not hit you as long as you're not moving. So yeah, that's something to note. But again, the easiest way to kill it is just go to the far right screen, just look downwards, and just unload on it. As you can see, you don't want to be underneath it, because again, you won't be able to hit it from there. So you want to be on top of it. Again, he won't be able to hit you. Just put in as many bullets as you can. And now we're on what would be the 3rd cycle. At this point, I'll admit, I kind of don't really know the patterns too well. But there should be not too many things alive at this point. But you're not going to find any new cycle. Any cycle that you will encounter will just be a repeat of a previous one. So we have seen this one before. We are at the very bottom, which means we can just look to the right and shoot that missile launcher. Hopefully you'll be able to kill it at this point. And again, we're just repeating cycles. Just killing as much as you can. And there you go. The helicopter is now dead. One thing to note is that once you do kill or destroy part of the helicopter and it explodes, if you're inside that explosion, you will be taking damage. So that's one thing to note. So yeah, just reiterating, it is a little bit tricky to explain the exact strats that you can do, just because there's so many variables that can happen with how fast an individual can mash, what all is still alive and what's been destroyed. So really, realistically speaking, I can just give general pointers on how this fight works. And again, as long as you memorize really the first 3 or 4 cycles, then you can get most of the helicopter either destroyed or very close to being destroyed. So again, I'll go through those lineups once more. So the first cycle is going to be just above the horizon. Start mashing as fast as you can. Oh, and one more thing I did forget to mention. With the sprite limit that is allowed on the screen, you'll notice, just for example, if I'm all the way to the right and I'm mashing as fast as I can, it only does, my bullets only do like a short three burst. It's not a constant stream. And again, that's just because I'm to the extreme side of the screen where only I've reached the sprite limits. So in order to combat that, with these flybys, you want to be pretty close to where the helicopter will fly in. This is just a slightly advanced strat you can pay attention to. So with the first cycle, again, you're just going to be somewhat close to the helicopter as it's flying by. And when you do that, you can keep your constant stream of bullets into it. So anyways, yeah. Again, the first cycle, just above the horizon. Just put as much damage into it as you can. The second cycle is going to be the higher of the large spikes in the sun. So just start mashing away. You probably want to ignore the machine gun turret on the front, again, just because it's not a threat at all. It's not going to be shooting you until those specific cycles, but again, that's very easy to avoid during those cycles. So the machine gun is at the very bottom of the priority list, so don't worry about it. That's the second cycle. If you can put a few shots into the machine gun, then you might as well. The third cycle is going to be at the very bottom. It's going to come in to the right. And then right before it touches you, or it passes you, you can see those missiles are already on the screen. Right before it passes you, you want to start moving upwards, just to avoid those missiles. The fourth cycle is going to be the exact same as the third. So the higher spike on the sun. Destroy anything that is still alive. Put in a few shots in the machine gun. The fifth cycle is going to be a fast flyby. And most things at this point are dead for me in this scenario. So I'm really just going to kind of shoot upwards, put in a few shots. The sixth cycle is going to be the same as the second and fourth cycle. Hopefully most things will be dead at this point. But now we are going to prioritize the 2 missiles on the top, which we are going to just pay close attention. Hopefully we don't miss it. I am directly in line. Then I killed the turret, which this isn't ideal, because again now I can't destroy anything. But in the next cycle, there we go. And that's the end. So it does take a bit of practice to get the hang of. Just again, all I can really say is learn the cycles and learn the lineups, and that'll give you a very nice head start. So here's the whole thing in action. Just put in as much damage as I can. Third cycle, go to the very bottom. Fourth cycle, I'll pay attention to the top just because I know most of the things are dead now. And there we go. And that's it. That's a helicopter fight. It's going to take a bit of practice, admittedly, but you'll get the hang of it. Just stay away from the explosions if you can. Learn the cycles, and learn the lineups. So yeah, that's the end of the game. Congratulations, you have completed the hard mode difficulty. And yeah, time ends at the black screen once the fade out starts. So yeah, you have finished it. And that is going to be the end of the series. If you have any questions at any point for whichever part you're watching, yeah, just go ahead and drop a question, a comment, and I will answer it as best as I can. You can also join the Discord server, which I will be posting a link to the server in the overview, the very first video in this tutorial series. You can join us there and post any specific questions you have there if you'd like. We would like to see anyone who would like to play the game. It's always nice to see new faces. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you there. But yeah, that's the end of the game. Shoutouts to our small little community we have. That's Our Hero Magus, Mass Distraction rather. The two moderators of the game, keeping us alive and well. And yeah, I'll just let it play out. So thank you for watching.